Today I'm going to be talking about Senate Bill 721, which has been codified into law under California Health and Safety Code Section 17973. This law pertains to balcony inspections in California. SB 721 was signed into law by Governor Brown after the 2015 Berkeley balcony collapse, in which 6 students on the balcony were killed and about 7 others were injured. They were visiting as part of the UC Berkeley Summer Exchange program, and it resulted in a sweeping change to California balcony inspections. So while some local governments have already imposed a local inspection program, this statewide law requires inspection of specific balconies throughout the state of California. So what buildings must be inspected under SB 721? Under SB 721, buildings with 3 or more units that have the following shall be inspected and subject to this law. First, balconies, decks, porches, stairways, walkways, and entry structures that extend beyond exterior walls of the building and which rely in whole or in substantial part on wood or wood-based products for structural support or stability. 2. A walking surface that is elevated more than 6 feet above the ground level. And 3. Balconies designed for human occupancy or use. Buildings for conversion or sale. So if you have a building that you are considering selling or converting to condominiums, after January 1st, 2019, these buildings must be inspected prior to the first close of escrow. When must the inspections take place? Inspections of the balconies, decks, porches, stairways, walkways, and entries, as described just before, must be inspected by January 1st, 2025, with certain exceptions, and they require subsequent inspections every 6 years. The inspection of buildings for which a building permit application has been submitted on or after January 1st, 2019 shall occur no later than 6 years following issuance of a certificate of occupancy from the local jurisdiction and shall otherwise comply with the provisions of this law. If the property was inspected 3 years prior to January 1st, 2019 by an inspector as described in the law, and a report of that inspector was issued stating that the exterior elevated elements and associated waterproofing elements are in proper working condition and do not pose a threat to the health and safety of the public, then no new inspection shall be required until January 1st, 2025. Who is authorized to perform balcony inspections? The following 4 types of individuals are authorized to perform balcony inspections: a licensed architect, a licensed civil or structural engineer, a general contractor holding any or all of the following types of licenses: A, B, or C5, which must be issued by the CSLB, Contractor State License Board, as well as the general contractor must have at least 5 years experience in constructing multi-story wood frame buildings. And lastly, individuals certified as a building inspector or building official as specified, as long as the individuals are not employed by the local jurisdiction while performing the inspections. Required inspection report. The inspector conducting the inspection shall produce an initial report and a final report indicating that any required repairs have been completed. A written report of the evaluation, stamped or signed by the inspector, shall be presented to the owner of the building or the owner's designated agent within 45 days of completion of the inspection. The report shall include photographs, any test results, and narrative sufficient to establish a baseline of the condition of the components inspected that can be compared to the results of the subsequent inspections. In addition to the evaluation required by this section, the report shall advise which, if any, exterior elevated element poses an immediate threat to the safety of the occupants, and whether preventing occupant access or conducting emergency repairs, including shoring, are necessary. A copy of the inspection report must be presented to the owner of the building within 45 days of the completion of the inspection. The law requires that if the inspection reveals conditions that pose an immediate hazard to the safety of the occupants, the inspection report shall be delivered to the owner of the building within 15 days, and emergency repairs shall be undertaken as specified, with notice given to the local law enforcement agency. And when I say law enforcement, I mean code enforcement. How long must the report be kept? Copies of all inspection reports shall be maintained in the building owner's permanent records for no fewer than 2 inspection cycles and shall be disclosed and delivered to the buyer at the time of any subsequent sale of the building. If repairs are required, first determine whether the remedial action is corrective or immediate. If it's an immediate threat, then an exterior elevated element that the inspector advises poses an immediate threat to the safety of the occupants or finds preventing occupant access or emergency repairs, including shoring or bolt, are necessary, shall be considered an emergency condition, and the owner of the building shall perform required preventive measures immediately. immediately preventing occupant access to the exterior elevated element until emergency repairs can be completed constitutes compliance with this paragraph. Repairs of emergency conditions shall comply with the requirements of this law, be inspected by the inspector, and reported to the local enforcement agency. However, if there's no immediate threat, then the owner of the building that requires corrective work to an exterior elevated element that, in the opinion of the inspector, does not pose an immediate threat to the safety of the occupants shall apply for a permit within 120 days of receipt of the inspection report. Once the permit is approved, the owner of the building shall have 120 days to make the repairs unless an extension of time is granted by the local enforcement agency. If the owner of the building does not comply with the repair requirements within 180 days, then the inspector shall notify the local enforcement agency and the owner of the building. What are the fines for noncompliance? If within 30 days of the date of a notice to repair by a local enforcement agency, the repairs are not completed by the owner, then the owner of the building shall be assessed a civil penalty based on a fee of not less than $100 or more than $500 per day until the repairs are completed, unless an extension of time is granted by the local enforcement agency. If a civil penalty is assessed, a building safety lien may be recorded against the property. Local laws could be even more strict than state laws. Keep in mind that SB721 and California Health and Safety Code, Section 17973, merely provide baseline requirements. Your local county or city could pass even more stringent requirements than SB721. Thank you for watching.